The session on sustainable procurement. You may call sustainable public procurement. And in the good old days, we used to call green procurement. And this is the way I remember the booklet small we made in 1992 on green procurement. But now it's picked up in a big way. So let me go to the details part. So what we want to cover in the next 1 hour is the concept of sustainability.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, can you please make it full screen?
Good. I think I missed out here. Okay, guys, what I plan to cover up in this session is the concept of sustainable. We are using the word sustainable, and we use for sustainable many places: sustainable development, sustainable procurement. We will talk about the principles and the course of it. Exploring the drivers for sustainable. What drives the sustainable? Why we are linking sustainable with procurement? I know for the last 15, 16 years, we have been always talking of sustainable development, but nobody talked about the procurement part. Or in the case of procurement, we were always saying green procurement, but now we are saying procurement sustainability. These sustainability impacts, integrating sustainability into procurement policy and strategy, organizing the procurement function towards sustainability, use of circular economy, how do we select the suppliers, all those things will come up in this. So in short, what we are saying around is procurement is the cornerstone of this sustainable process. In one word, if I have to say around, after all, sustainability, when we talk of resources of the world, we are talking of the climate change, we are talking of emissions. From where does it come? From the factories, from services, you and me traveling around, going by air. So all these things relates in one way or another way to procurement. You and me guys buy at home many things. Some e-commerce company comes and delivers you. Again, there's a carbon footprint. You guys are buying for the public sectors. Many things under the World Bank funding or your own funding. There's again, someone is creating a carbon footprint. So in short, if procurement becomes conscious, start giving a weightage to the greening part, environmental part, so we could play a key role. So the figure which comes around is 60 to 70% of the emissions we see in the world could be attributed not by the procurement action, but the result of the procurement action. When you place an order, somebody starts making it. Somebody makes cement, somebody makes something, somebody makes bricks, somebody makes machinery, somebody makes equipments. But behind that is all emission. So that's why procurement becomes the word called sustainable procurement. And there's an ISO standard also, International Standard Organization, 20,004. When we say sustainability, again, let me say, in the context of procurement, another words around, some people say green. Anything green, not the look, not the color per se, greening of the materials, greening of this, so that means the less emission. Circular economy, I make something, I use something, then again, cycle. I don't dump it. So recycle economy, eco-friendly. So whatever goods we are buying around, they don't damage the environment per se. So the material is very easy, I can recycle it. And even other ones around, if the materials are hard metals, some damaging like mercury and something, if I throw them into the sea, it could damage something. It could put into the earth, is again to damage something, eco-friendly. Let's say I'm buying tarpaulin sheet. If tarpaulin sheet is put underneath, under the earth, nothing will grow there because it's not biodegradable. If anything is biodegradable, then we see, okay, it will go off. Sustainable growth, better use of technologies, regenerations, climate change, conservations. So people are linking the word sustainability with various parameters. But which is the hot topic today is climate change. And climate change means we are trying to see how procurement could help in controlling this temperature rise. If temperature rises by 2 degrees, 3 degrees, what is the impact of that? And temperature rises because of the carbon emissions. So those emissions, how we can cut it down, and that's where the procurement comes into the picture. Sustainability, the terminology comes that we have standard resources available. This Mother Earth has got limited resources, whether it's the fossil oil, fossil fuels, coal, any minerals you look around, it's not getting multiplied. It's not like an agriculture product. So there are limited resources, and if we start consuming more, so we'll be left nothing for our next generation. So that's where the concept of sustainability comes in. So the preamble, if I have to say around, the impact of climate change has become the most pressing issues. Even in the World Economic Forum, which happened in Davos, Germany, in Switzerland, recently, last week, finishing, one of the focus was on climate change. COP meeting, which happened in Dubai, COP 28, again, their focus was on climate change. Worldwide, everywhere is talking of climate change. As world moves towards achieving the net zero, now the focus is coming around, guys, by 2050, we want net zero commitment. All companies, all procurements should become net zero. Business can aid in realizing this mission by establishing their own set green pledges. So everybody has to set their green pledges. See, guys, if we create carbon footprints, either we will buy the carbon footprints or cut down the carbon. Both things can happen. I can cut down the carbon footprints. Second, I can, if not able to cut down to that extent, then I can buy some carbon footprint from someone. So the trading of carbon footprints have happened. Some of the biggest companies have declared net zero targets. In India also, abroad also, I'm sure. So net zero targets, guys, this is what we plan to achieve by 2030. This is what we plan to achieve by 2050. The target is 2050. Some countries like India, China, they have asked for 2070s. Many have pledged to reduce greenhouse gases emission. So procurement and supply chain, because procurement also have a transportation. It's also have a manufacturing. Somebody is manufacturing. You are not manufacturing, but somebody is manufacturing for you. When you say, I need so much of paper, somebody is chopping the trees, somebody is converting the material into the paper, paper is being transported. There's the carbon footprints everywhere. So papers, procurement and supply chain contribute 75% of this. Climate changes, if we look around, Earth climate is getting warmer over the years. And the signs are seen universally. Rainfall patterns are changing. The period when we used to get the rain is not happening at that time, or rains are not happening. Someplace more flood, someplace less. Sea level is rising. And the snow and ice are melting sooner in the spring. So by 2100 AD, global temperature is expected to rise by 2 degrees C, and consequently the sea level by about 50 centimeters. If sea level goes 50 centimeters, many countries could have affected. Like Bangladesh could have easily, because they're very close to the sea. In Europe also we have Netherlands. So there are many countries which are very close. In India also we have Mumbai, which is closer to the sea level. A rise in temperature is expected to increase the level of the sea by expanding seawater, melting mountains. So these are all affecting this. So climate change is when we look around the impact of climate change. In Africa also, some countries are listed in the higher side. Look at this one, what is happening? With global warming, changing rains and snow patterns, changes in animal migrations and life cycles, higher temperature and more heat waves, more droughts and wildlife, wildfires, thawing of common forest, damaged corals, rising sea levels, warmer ocean. So what is happening is these are creating 5 disruptions. One is a natural disaster. Second is extreme weathers. Some countries which you never seen so heat, they are getting too high temperatures around, like London and this, then they are getting droughts also, some countries, conflicts and political unrest, health disasters, sudden demand shocks. So the demands are also fluctuating too fast. Even if I look at the South Africa as a whole, Nigeria ranks on the top, South Africa is there, South Sudan is there, DRC is there, Ethiopia, Chad, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau. So these are the countries also listed as those which are affected by this climate change. So nobody is away from that. So climate change is the change in the average weather pattern. This is what we're talking about. Now, why it is happening, as I explained to you, one is industrialization has grown too fast. Energy use has gone up. Agriculture practices are there. Deforestations. So when we talk of Africa, I think agriculture is one of the major affected around, particularly on the west side, west of Africa. Consumer practices, livestock, transport, resource extractions, pollutions. Effect is obviously all of them is rising temperatures, sea level going up, increased extreme weathers, land degradations, loss of wildlife and biodiversity. So all these things are affecting what people are getting displaced. Poverty figures are going up, loss of livelihood, hunger, malnutrition, all the things around. So what we are looking around to cut down this. Globally, it has been agreed to the COP meeting that we have to reach net zero. So net zero means we have to take some measures to lower it, measures to remove the emissions. So it's a combination of the two should lead us to net zero. If I'm creating a carbon footprint of 4,000 tons carbon footprints, now those has to be cut down. Either I can invest in the technology which cuts down this, as the picture shows you. Today I'm buying electricity through coal thermal power station. So give me the energy, the coal has to produce so much of carbon footprint. So if I get the windmills, depending on the location, or I have got a solar system, so I think that could be compensated. So I can cut down the emission, I can lower the emission. Sometime I can also do is remove emission. I could have removal part by having forest expansion. I remember some time back, World Bank has also invested in Amazon forest. So that means whatever carbon footprints they created through the travel and all those things around, that could be compensated through the forest. Direct air captures, and we try to suck the air, as China also tried to do it in Beijing, which was pollution was becoming too high, so suck the air and clean it up. So that's a combination to net zero. You can see this is how, if it is not managed, many countries, many cities which are close to the sea, and if the level is very low, then certainly they are going to be affected. Now the challenge is reduction of GHG, greenhouse gases, which are many. Carbon dioxide is a major one. So carbon dioxide is 70%. And who eats carbon dioxide? The trees. So trees eats it and we create it. So that means we need either more trees, more plantation. The chopping of the tree has to stop around. So if this is not taken care, then we have 8 times more natural disasters directed to the poorest countries in the last decade than that. So all the natural disasters, if you look around, they are more in the poor countries because some others have managed it somewhere, but that's affecting. Key systems where there is coming emissions around energy production, that's a major one. Because energy production, if I look around India, even also, we do through coal thermal power station. So that's quite big. And those who have got the fossil fuel or something else, then they can also do it with fuel or gas. Still, we are producing carbon emissions. So now I think around 10% of our carbon emissions has been reduced because we have switched over to solar system. Agriculture is another one. All city constructions. Transportation is another one. Manufacturing is another one. So all of them leads to emissions, greenhouse gases around. So this gives you some figures percentage-wise, which were done in 2019. Latest one, I didn't have it. So electricity, heat, that's a major. Second is agriculture. Third is manufacturing and construction. Transportations, buildings. So it gives you percentage-wise, which are the key hit ones. Now coming back to the next one. So let me switch over to the other ones. Carbon footprints. So when you look from the procurement context, you got multiple suppliers. Today you do 2-envelope system. You look at commercially. You look at technically. If technically they're okay, then you look at the commercial side. Or you could have a weightage, guys. Okay, I'll give 60% marks to technical side, 30% or 40% on the price side. But now we will have to think of how do we add a weightage for company, which is one company X is very less carbon footprints, or the products are greener. There's another company which is not greener, but the price is lower. So if we want to promote the green products, so we will have to give some weightage to the greening of the product. So those companies which are certified, if their products are green or they are following sustainable guidelines, they have to be given some weight. So the guideline which are coming around is that we may have to think of soon, not very far, a weightage for greening. Could be 20%, could be 10%, whichever way you think. But before you give the weightage, the process has to come around, some mechanism has to come around to certify. Anybody can say my product is organic, my product is green. But come on, guys, this guy could be fake. So we need certainly a certification. So I know in the Europe has done very well in this part. India also we are trying to do around. Africa, I have not heard much on this. Europe is the one which is leading, let me be honest. So when you say company is green, there is someone to certify. Everybody will say my product is green. That's not the issue. We want someone else to certify. So there are essential categories of GHG emissions, greenhouse gases emission. So this one I want everyone to know it, which is important. Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. So wherever you guys are working, whichever office you're working, your own activity, you are, let's say, 30 people or 40 people. You come to the office, something, and your own activity for the office to operate, the air conditioning, heating, your papers, what you need around, you're creating carbon emission. Your activities are creating carbon emission. Scope 2 is to maintain your office has to be, somebody has to buy the electricity. So when they buy the electricity, that production of electricity creates emission. That is again scope 2. But scope 1 and 2 is only 20% of the game. Scope 3 is the one where suppliers gets involved. The supplier which is supplying you transformers, supplier which is giving you the material for the road construction, supplier which is giving you for making the buildings, cement, steel, whatever you may talk around, or the wood, that is the one. So scope 1 and 2, anybody can work it out. It's not difficult. If I know your office is so much, what is energy consumption? I can convert energy consumption into carbon footprints. How much tons of carbon you are producing? The major part is scope 3. So once we are able to, when we are talking of supplier, we are technically talking around scope 3. The supplier is transporting the goods to you. They are also manufacturing it. They're also traveling it. All that activity has to be built into scope 3. So today, I would say for many companies, this is a difficult job. So now you can see in the picture form, scope 1 is your operation, what you guys are doing. Very small part, let me be honest, 5 or 10%. Scope 2 is the one where your company, where the organization who's maintaining your office, they buy the electricity to keep the light on, air conditioning on, heating on, cleaning of the office around. So that is scope 2. But scope 3 is the one which comes from the products. The products which you're buying. Then we have the transportation of those products. There's a travel person, the guy is coming to your office by traveling by air or something, or by car. That's also covered. The next thing is once the goods are made, somebody's downstream, somebody's trying to transport the goods. Or your goods are used now, you don't need them. They become outdated technology-wise, old cars, old transformers. Somebody has to send. They have to be disposed. So this is what we're talking around. Scope 1, scope 2 is all within your control. Yes, we want your office to be also green in terms of emission, in terms of heating, electricity. But scope 3 is also, the major part is scope 3. But now scope 3, which you're buying, you might be buying from company A. Now, company A, let's say I'm the company which I'm supplying you. I'm supplying air conditioners to you. I'm supplying transformer to you. And I'm supplying tables to you. But I'm not doing everything myself. I go to my own tier company. So you are buying from the tier 1 company. Tier 1 is going to tier 2. Tier 2 is going to tier 3. Somebody is buying the raw material. I'm buying, let's say, copper cables. Electrification project. The cable which is supplied to me is company tier 1, the guy who's coating the copper with. Then next one is tier 2, the guy who's making the wires. The third one next could be the guy who's giving the raw material to you. So we have to find in the complete chain what is the emission. From raw material stage, from the real raw material stage, till the goods you get, how much is the carbon footprint? Straight from the raw material till the goods are delivered to you. So you guys are buying it, the complete chain has to be bought. So that's what we call scope 3 emission. So I hope everybody is clear with the term scope 3, because that is the first thing which I want everybody to know. I can see in the chat box somebody has put something. Let me see. Okay, no issues. Thank you. So that means if we really want to protect the earth, we want to protect the climate, we need a paradigm shift in our thinking in procurement. So procurement cannot go the way it was earlier, only the lowest price. But to make it the lowest price, the guy might be damaging a lot to the earth. In the good old days, we was using a lot of pesticides, which are affecting our bodies, cancer, and all those things around. Now we say, no, we need to go organic. Same way here also. As a good buyer, we have to see around that when we are comparing two suppliers, we need to give some weightage to the parameter which are much more greener. That's what we look at. So what is sustainable procurement? But after listening all this, we can say now how businesses can identify and reduce the environmental impact on the supply chain. Because procurement is a part of supply chain management. So this includes what? Identifying suppliers who are low impact, fair trades, environmentally friendly. Using the materials that have been sourced responsibly. One is the use of paper, throw it out. Second is the one guy, he or she recycles the paper and then give it to you. I know it was a craze in 1992 when I was saying around when the concept started of greening product. So we started around first 100% recycle. We made it a must. I was in Denmark in the right place, I would say. So then we thought around, guys, if we go with 100%, paper gets jammed, recycled paper, because the fibers are much more. Then we said, guys, no, we'll go with 20%, 30%, 40%. Now I think the quality has improved. So now we are able to buy at 50% or 30% recycled paper, and it works well in a printer. Reducing waste by reusing packing material as opposed to throwing it. So today we may have boxes made of something plastic which has to be thrown away. Other could be made of cardboard which can be recycled. So maintaining a healthy work environments. So in sustainability, we are not only looking at the green world, we are also looking at the social side. The social side means I hope we are not slaving the people. We are paying them the right wages around when possible. So that is what we're talking about, healthy work environments, where people are respected and valued. That's what we're looking for. So benefits, obviously we cut down the risk and your reputation goes up. If you say my products are green, or they are sustainable in all aspects, social aspect, environmental aspect, and economic aspects, then certainly it adds. Like somebody says, my air conditioner 5-star. Someone say 4-star. Some say 3-star. 5-star means I'm giving the same output, but with a lower electricity consumption. Other one is doing the same thing, but they consume more electricity. So it adds the reputation part. People don't mind paying even 5-10% extra if they know very well over the time this will work out to be economical. Decrease cost. Revenue growth. If out of 10 companies, you are one of the ones top companies, which is the sustainable products around, or green products around, your revenue will go up. People will go for it. Future proofing. So that way, in future, against the potential shortage in supply, we are trying to do. Today, supply shortage could happen because that much is not available. You must have seen in the last 2 years, oil price going up and down because there's a potential shortage sometimes. Whether it's human created or other way around, there's a shortage. So future proofing is there. So the pillars of SP means sustainable procurement. One part is economics. Whatever we are doing, it looks very nice that we want to be green, but not at the cost of making very high cost. So it has to be economically sound. Nobody's going to pay that, okay, guys, I'll pay double the price just because your product is green. No, nobody's going to accept. People don't have deep pockets. If it is 5-10% makes sense. So that means you have to get down into economics. So before you say, guys, my product is green and I want to give 50% weightage to this, very difficult. It has to make economic sense. Social means people are also respected. So one parameter is economics. It makes sense money-wise. Second, socially also this company is valuing their team, their staff members. They are paid very well, reasonably. They are respected reasonably. So that's what we do. And the last is environment. So profit, people, and planet. We cannot compromise on profit just because I want to be green. No. You still need, company needs a profit to survive. So we are taking care of the planets because we are going with the green. Social means we are taking care of the people who work there. So economic means that under each one we have put down different issues around. Only social, let me touch human rights, clean drinking water, food security we are giving. Economic in one line, if I have to say around, it has to be economically make sense. Environmental means we talked of carbon emissions, whatever is there. Now we look at the economic part or even the sustainability part in a life cycle approach. So there's a one is total cost of ownership we discussed on the day one. Second is life cycle. Life cycle means from the day I start using buying the material till it goes back to the Mother Earth, product is used. There's nothing else to do. the life is over, like human life. So same way product, I bought some air computers, use it for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. After 5 years, the technology is too old. Life is over. Now question come after 5 years, what do we do? Now either we should pass on some schools, colleges, maybe the speed is slow, they could use it still at the school level, can't afford computers. Second could be when even that is over, it has to be taken out. You can't dump this computer as it is. Some parts can be recycled. Some components cannot be recycled. Some components are very damaging because they use heavy metals. And that heavy metals could be very damaging if that metals gets in touch with the water. So sustainable procurement is a strategic procurement practice at its optimum. That's what we call it. So this is again, I've taken up from the World Bank. So first thing is identifying the development needs, analysis part, requirements. So we have to spell the requirements with green as a focus. Source, again, when you're selecting the supplier, we need to give, if one is having a price 2% or 3% up and it's a green product, and you already justify, then I think there has to be some weightage. If we don't give weightage, then nobody will become greener. Then we have the implement part, and the last is check part, whether everything is going the way they have mentioned. Now, when we say sustainable procurement, we are saying, guys, it should be based on evidence. Anybody will say my products are green. But technically, we want a supporting document. That means somebody has to certify. And normally, this can't be every Tom and Harry. It has to be authorized by a company which is well reputed in this field, or the government bodies, like here also we're trying. So the government bodies are there around, but then we find some companies, certify them on their behalf. So that's how it works. Now the specifications part. This is where the role of procurement people comes in. Look at the specs. Specs are two types. One is performance-based. Second is conformance. Conformance means whatever design I have given you, it should conform as it is. So we need to check whether they have put down any criteria around green. So specifications will come to you. You could ask them, guys, how are you ensuring the greening of the product? How are you ensuring the sustainability aspect? So sustainability becomes the priority. So in the specification, please do ask for it. How are you ensuring sustainability in design part, in the specification? Let's say if I'm designing computers, I'll look around the body, whether it can be sustainable or not, can it be recycled? The parts which are going around, they are not heavy metals. Everything can be recycled if I strip it open. So that's what we need around is this. Second is called performance-based. One is conformance. That means you design it, your designer does it. So there also we need it. In performance-based means you are saying, guys, I don't care how you make it. I want this job to be done. Outcome should be this. And to do this outcome, I leave it to you. So my focus is on the outcome. Then there are industry standards around. ISO 14001. Energy management system, ISO 50001. Eco labels and social labels. So one is eco labels. So environmental companies labels are there, social labels are there. So we have the labels around from different companies. Now focusing on the environment side. What is green purchasing? So we have quality. Today what we look at the quality, cost and delivery. So in these parameters, if we add one more parameters on environment, it becomes green. But sustainable procurement is one step further than this. For sustainable procurement, I have to add social parameter and the governance parameter. So governance and social part comes up. Otherwise, green means you're looking only at the specification. Defining greens. Product has substantially less potential for pollution when compared to others. Product is recycled, recyclable, made from recycled product, biodegradable. Very important enough. Let me give you an example which happened with us. There was a time when a lot of Somalians came from Somalia because of the problems there. They came to Kenya. Many people were died, killed, or whatever. So to bury them up, we bought tarpaulin sheets, which were PVC in those days, because the awareness was not there. It's a very old story now, I can say. More than 20 years, around 20 years. So awareness was not much of the greening, so we bought PVC sheet. So wherever the bodies were buried with the PVC sheet, and PVC is not biodegradable. Not biodegradable. So that means the land where we have put them, many hectares, become useless. So one has to look around the defining the green part. Well, same PVC is very good if I put under the layer of my water. I'm distributing waters for the agriculture. So in the same pond or canal, I put it down underneath PVC, the water will not go into the earth much. So I'm able to preserve the water. So one has to see around what is a greening. Product is recycled, recyclable, made from recycled products are biodegradable. So the plastic area, certainly we talk around the biodegradable. Packaging also, as I said to you, should be recycled. The environmental sustainability through 3 R's. This is again an old terminology. When we wrote this book, which I was showing you around, that's the time we were focusing on 3 R's. Reduce the consumption, reuse it, and recycle. So reuse, the first reduce part was very straightforward. Throughout the life cycle, we should cut down the requirements of materials. We should not buy material if I don't need it. Let them not get into the storage for nothing. If I need it, energy I need it, I'll do it. So that's why we reduce the consumption. And then reuse means, as you must have seen in the cartridges, HP printers, laser printers. So we can recycle the cartridge. So recycle again. Reuse is one. So I use the cartridge again after filling it. A recycle means the materials used from the birth of the product should serve again and again as material to give birth to a new product. Cradle to grave, cradle to cradle. So ISO standards, we have many. I hope everyone knows ISO 9001, which is quality management system. ISO 14001, which is environmental management system. So these two you all should know actually. I think they're very basic. So when you're buying, you always say, guys, is your company qualified under ISO 9000? On environment side, are you certified as per ISO 14001? Another one would be ISO 20400. You will say, guys, for my sustainable. So this is where I think there's a demand to ask for these things. So 14,001, 9,001 was for quality management. Here is only about environmental management system. How we use the resources. And reduction of waste. So if somebody wants, a company says, I'm certified by ISO 14001. You're not going to question, you say, guy, okay, show me the certificate. If it gives you ISO 14001 certificate, you can rate them under the environment. Compared to another company which is not ISO 14001. So one is ISO 14001. Other supplier is not one until you make a must. If we want suppliers which are certified by under 14,000, then you're comparing apples and apples. Otherwise, you're comparing apples and oranges. It helps the organization to identify, manage, monitor, control the environment in a very holistic manner. It's not a quality management system, it's environmental management system. Now we come with 20,004. It came in 2017. It's not very old, it's a recent one. The first international standard on sustainable procurement to achieve the best practices. Procurement that has the most positive environmental, social, economic impact possible over the entire life cycle. So this is what we are using it, and we are training the people on ISO 20004. Actually, we are doing one program also in the month of April on sustainability. We did one earlier, but now we're doing again another one. And that makes people eligible for certification after passing an exam. So benefits of ISO 20400. Now 20,400. So there are 4 pillars of this one, which is again for environmental procurement. One is the basic fundamentals. Second is something about the social part. It means the people are based on ISO 26000. Integrating, and then the next is organizing, and the last is integrating again. So here also we are doing sustainable into the procurement. Here also sustainable into procurement is the process. So strategy, what it needs is requires focus on incorporating system criteria into the organization, developing monitoring mechanisms and assessment to promote vendor compliance, stimulating innovation through crowdsourcing. So we get ideas from various people around. Enhancing already high transparencies standards in procurement. So any strategy has to cover some of these points. So sustainable procurement has got cost reduction. Obviously, you want to cut the cost, not to increase the cost on the name of sustainability. I know difficult to accept it because once you're saying sustainability is same like organic, and saying organic is cheaper than the normal may not be now, but maybe over the time. So here also we talked around the cost reduction. And then we're talking on the revenue growth. So if we want to get into this one, a businessman is only interested once they know very well, my growth is there. So these two have to be added up. Selection of supplier, award criteria. So this is where we were saying around the technical quality, we may give 50% based on tech specs. Price maybe 30%, and then 20% we were saying, guys, could be given to sustainable development. Now, environmental impacts, the waste and disposals. Obviously, when you're buying something, somebody has to dispose. It might be creating a waste on a daily basis. Improved efficiencies for using the finite or scarce resources such as energy, water, and raw materials, protecting the biodiversity, carbon dioxide, methane. So this is a big list around that. Now the indicators for sustainable procurement is prevention of pollution. Very first thing. If this prevention of pollution means against sustainable resource use, climate change emissions, protection of biodiversity and habitats, human rights and labor issues, and inclusion of persons with disability, whole life cycle cost. So life cycle cost is different than total cost of ownership. Life cycle means Once I'm disbanding it, guys, okay, now this is over, the life is over. So life means that again I have to look into the cost what goes into dismantling it, the cost which goes in putting back to the earth, or melting it and recycling it, all that cost has to be worked around. Gender issues, social well-being, local communities. Then we have the next one, promoting sustainability through supply chain, generic additional indicators. So next is last mile delivery. This is becoming a tricky now. So when I look at the e-commerce business going too fast, I'm sure in all the countries it's going very fast. India is not exceptional in that sense around. So when they deliver to you, that means the last mile delivery is expected to grow by 78% by 2020. So more delivery vehicles. Deliveries will cause related emissions to rise by nearly 1/3 and add 11 millions to each passenger's commuter. Require interventions that can decrease both carbon dioxide emission and congestion up to this. Towards a greener footprints, efficiencies can play for themselves. Naturally, if you are more efficient, if I'm spending 1 hour, my machine is saying, instead of 10 pieces, I'm now doing 20 pieces. So my carbon emissions per piece has gone down. Find greener alternatives. Then we have adopt circular design principle, embrace technologies. Measure and data is the key to change. That's what we're looking at. So we have first focus is to create transparency. Optimize by carbon dioxide. Engage suppliers. Push the ecosystem. So under each one we got subheadings around, but so you got broad ideas around what they do around. This is how it looks like. So you make something, you take the raw materials, go to the machines, make it, and then you try to dispose. Versus you make, you use, give it to someone, this guy gives return to this level. Next is the scope 3 emissions. And we got the goods and services, fuel and energy part. Upstream is the transformations, waste generations in operations, the life. All these things are leading into carbon emissions. Getting started ISO 20003. You need to know, evaluate the cost of the supply chain in your organization. What portion of your revenue goes towards paying suppliers? So if this like company, you're saying around 7 vehicles comes around or 7, so you could cut down those by going toward the greener side or maybe electric vehicles. That's what we do. Collaboration and SRM, you are not an island. So how does your procurement team collaborate with business units and stakeholders? I think this is the area where we all need change quite a lot. If you look around many companies, procurement people are still live in a different paradigm. They don't treat supplier as a partner. If they call them for a meeting at 10 o'clock, the way people are waiting, they're outside. So they have the ego or whatever you may say around, that's part we need to change. You know who are the key and strategic supplier? What is the negotiation position to drive change? If supplier is strategic, so if I want to change their mindset, I need different approach. What is the level of maturity of the SRM? Supplier relationship management. So SRM is all about relationship management. Do you acknowledge them? You meet a supplier, do we ever acknowledge them? Supplier writes to you, thanks for meeting you, coming to our office, blah, blah. But we rarely do in procurement, do this thing. I think this is what we need.
Sir, we have one question.
Yeah,
Okay, so the question is, does value engineering play an important part in sustainable procurement?
certainly. Because value engineering means you're basically adding value in different ways. One, by cutting the cost. I change the material. Let's say I got a product made of X material. I switch over to another material. And by switching over to another materials, and that material is environmentally friendly and needs less of production time. It consumes less of energy. So value engineering certainly helps you if you go into that process, how it is being manufactured, what materials I'm recommending. I can give you an example from my own life. We were making the handles for refrigerators. Millions of handles per year. And each handle was brass, chrome plated. I'm sure all of you know the handle of the refrigerator. So the brass was all the time with blowholes. Somebody has to fill the blowholes and polish it and then chrome plate it. Think of the process is very strenuous. Brass is costly. Then somebody came with a material called ABS, acrylic butadiene styrene. And I could mold hundreds of them at one go. Instead of doing sand casting one by one, I could do hundreds. No polishing required much. I could chrome plate them. And after chrome plating, they were as strong, even more stronger than the brass. Look-wise, same. So customer can never differentiate the look of the two. So in the process, we cut the cost to half. So earlier it was $0.50 price, then it came a $0.25 price per handle. And this is going back to 1974, 75. The concept of value engineering certainly helps us.
So, sir, that means value engineering, SRM, all will go together.
Everything. SRM is also a hot subject nowadays.
Yeah, correct.
People in the good old days never cared. While from Japan, who are from the eastern part of the world now, smartest people who use this full way. When they shifted their plant, some of the activities in America, they were buying the goods from the same supplier from where Americans were buying, like Ford and Chrysler and other ones around. But these people were very good in relationship, helping them, supplier development, all those things around. Ultimately, they were the leaders there. Now today you go in still America, 25-30% vehicles are from Japanese. So this is where relationship also helps you changing around, increase different materials, manufacturing process, life of the products, everything leads to the value. So value engineering is important to us. So what is the level of maturity in your SRM program? You sit around. So I think I've gone to the next level. Let's see. First, let me finish my previous one. So again, keep SRM as you are not in an island. So you have to think of this as a part of it. Some people think, oh, SRM is a separate island. No, SRM is a part of your relationship when you're dealing with procurement. And that also helps you to cut down the carbon footprints. So again comes up here sustainability. Where should I bother? Obviously, you have limited resources, limited everything. My major focus in the source and should be in this one, strategic critical. And again, in this one, you can say tactical advantage, where my major money is going. 80% of my funds are going into these two boxes on the right side. So my major focus should be on this, then slowly others. If you feel that you want to have everything together at one go, is difficult. I mean, we don't have resources, we don't have knowledge sometimes. So step by step, we have to work. So these become my highest priority for sustainability, the upper one. This also becomes priority because my impact is much higher. If I do on the technical acquisition, low value, low cost, impact is not much. That's the way we're looking at the money wise. So lowest priority, and here also lowest priority. So where to start around? I would say the matrix shown below illustrate how sourcing leader might take 4x4 approach. So 4x4 approach means one axis is my ease of what we call around implementations and reduction cost. So reducing the cost, and this side is my emission implementation part. So this is my hot categories because this is reduction cost means these are, I'm spending a lot of money already on this. Hot category means where I'm spending more money, implementation is easier. So here I could come with the transportation change, packaging change, travel, energy using products, I can come back. Then I got the another product area is the one, this is low, but this one is another one cold, and this is low priority areas. So you can imagine the very first focus is on this, high value, in terms of money wise, implementation could be easier relatively. This one is next priority. The third priority would be this one, and then this will be the last one. So keep in mind, because this is the way we can focus, where to start. The final thoughts before we wrap up. In this day and age, companies have to look to become environmentally friendly. So this is where we expect around that more and more people will become environmentally friendly. They start looking at it. Even at home front also, we see people are looking at it, what I'm buying, where I'm throwing. Can I cut down my wastage around? Can I recycle it? I think that mindset is changing now. In the younger generation, we see a lot. To implement sustainable practices, there needs to be payoff in terms of cost. So because when you're spending money in the company, your home is different. But when you're spending money in the companies around, you have to look around. You also want environmental friendly, you have to cut the cost. Increasing the value ones. Work out why it should benefit you to become more sustainable. Work out existing footprints and ways to minimize it. Do work out handprints. So there are two things, carbon footprints, and handprints. Handprint means using your knowledge and this, making a new design. So footprints mean you're creating carbon, you're leaving the impression. Footprints means leaving the impression, but the other one is a handprint. Hand also leaves the impression. That means you're trying to work on it. That's it. So handprints and footprints. So that's what we see the next heading around is do work out handprints in addition to footprints. Procurement mechanism should go beyond efficiency of spending and serve as socio-economic tools to achieve sustainable goals. So, well, friend, I know this subject is much bigger. We do this program for 3 days continuously, and then we have certification also on this. So here I just to give you a flavor of it around. If anybody wants to know more about it, they can join us we're doing a one program in April, a 3 days program, a certification program on green. I can see in the chat somebody has put a questions around. Please share example of bid criteria for sustainable green. Okay, guys. Now these are very good questions. Mr. Reddy has raised around. Now the criteria for greening, I would say very first criteria would be, is the material biodegradable? First thing. If material is biodegradable, the greening objective is achieved. Second, the life of the product. Is biodegradable if the life is shorter. I'm buying 2 suppliers. One is the guy is giving me warranty for 5 years. Other one is giving me 1 year. Here, if I buy the goods for 5 years, I don't have to change it. Other one after 1 year, that means bound to break, and then I have to replace it. Our third one could be, can it be recycled? Or I'll put this way around, like if you look at the printers. So printers came with cartridges. I remember in the very beginning, you had to throw the cartridges and buy a new cartridge. Now you can take the cartridges to someone who can fill it with the powder, give it to you. If you're talking a laser printer. And then now people have come with the next layer. You can put the ink even carbon. So there's ink pot type things. So it has a longer life. Number of pages it can print is much more. Per piece cost goes down. So when per piece cost goes down, so that technology helps you. So this is where we feel around is the life part, biodegradable part, environmental part, all that thing has to be looked at. So case to case, if you can tell me something like I'm buying a vehicle. So vehicle also, if I'm buying, if it can give me more mileage, that means my carbon footprints are less. One vehicle is, let's say, 10 kilometers per liter. Other one is 15 kilometers per liter. Mileage is less. Now coming back to the next one, as we see, electric vehicle is a very good example. But again, if electricity is coming through thermal power, so somewhere you're creating a carbon footprint. But the product which you're using, electric vehicles, I think in India also we're starting now in the governments and other places, everything is going with electric vehicles, scooters, electric vehicles. So with that part, certainly we are cutting down the emission on the ground. Next thing will come around, what do we do with the batteries? What do we do with the electricity from where I'm charging it? So there also focus is going on, guys. The way I'm charging it, it should be coming from, not from the thermal station. It should come from either hydro or solar or wind or nuclear, whichever way you think that. So that mindset is changing, and that's way. But as a buyer, I will certainly support electric if it is viable. So as a buyer, you're looking around from that context. If you go to scope 3, scope 4, how I'm going to degrade, how I'm going to use these batteries. Now batteries also can be recycled. Now people are working on that. Okay, guys, keeping in time, I hope Mr. Mully, I've answered your queries around, but if specific you want, since by background, my knowledge, I'm a designer, so I'll be very happy to help you. If you have anything in mind, what could be the equivalent where I can change it. Okay, guys, then we are next is, I think we completed it. This one, again, I want to touch the final tips. Any change, because sustainability, when you want to bring in procurement or any activities around, you need these 6 headings around. 5 heading, vision. That means your office should have a vision, what you want to achieve. Skills, stimuli, resources, roadmap. So in the beginning, you may have to hire someone as a research guy who can do some resource for you and roadmap. Without this, no change will happen. If vision is not there and you have a skill, you have a stimuli, your resources, roadmap, confusion will be more. So vision has to be there. So typically you need all the 5 pillars to bring a change. If you have vision but no skills, you will create fear. If you have no stimulus, you will create resistance. If you have no resources, obviously you have good ideas, but you don't have resources to work on it. So if I agree with that, I mean, each one of you, wherever you have a World Bank projects around, he says, guys, we need to allocate some funds, maybe 3%, 4%, to green our activities, to make our activities sustainable. So that person, whatever 2, 3 people you hire, their job should be to do research work for you and tell you this is what you can do. Or each one of you, if you're having the right skills, no issues. Or you can give these projects, tie up with some colleges. They can work for you, those who are doing PhDs or something around. So depending on the activity, what you buy, it can be done. Let's say I'm making the roads now. Then I can give a project to someone in the college, say, guys, can you find it out what way we can make it much more greener? They'll tell us what type of cement to use, what type of gravity to use, what type of bitumen to use. They'll come with an alternatives. So your approach will change. So you need a collective wisdom on this. Alone, one person can't do it. So vision, skills, stimuli, resources are also required. And lastly, if you don't have a roadmap, how do you want to implement it? Never will start. You will start with one, then you say, oh, change it, then go to second one. So this is where I thought the final tips comes very effectively. You need all of them. So each project, let's say I'm sitting in Nigeria or Sierra Leone or any countries, Burundi, Ghana, anywhere around. South Africa. I will have a small team to support the World Bank projects around all the projects, not only one. Guys, come and give us the results. World Bank is supporting it, so I'm sure funding can be done. You say, guys, we want to create a project to do the greening of our procurement. So they will give it. Okay, guys, with this, I want to thank you all for the patient hearing.